Hi, this is Bodam Sketch. In today's video, I'll show you how to draw interior designs using Feather. I usually create 3D drawings on the iPad and share my work on Instagram. Many of you asked how I use Feather 3D, so I made this tutorial. This piece was inspired by an IKEA showroom. In this tutorial, we'll try a variety of techniques. You creating floor textures, applying patterns, using stamps to draw the sofa, adding light to the lamp, and drawing a clothes rack. If you're a beginner, I recommend watching the basic tutorials on the official Feather account first. Let's get started. When you open Feather, go to Settings and you can switch to Dark Mode. For this tutorial, I'll use Dark Mode so the UI is easier to see. Tap the plus button at the bottom right to create a new note. This is your 3D workspace, and you can switch the camera by double tapping with 3 fingers. When drawing, it's more comfortable to use the orthographic camera, since it removes perspective distortion. Next, open the Stage panel and go to the Environment tab. This button here is Fog, and since it affects colors while drawing, I'll turn it off for now. Now let's start sketching. Go to the first Group tab, double tap the group, and rename it to Sketch. Then double tap the screen to switch to the front view. Draw a straight line across the floor area. When you switch to the top view, you can see that the guide has been created. You can adjust the guide's transparency using the button below. Set the brush size to 40. In Feather, 1 grid square is usually treated as 1 meter. But for this drawing, I won't be measuring precisely. I'll just sketch freely. Using the floor grid, draw a horizontal line across 6 squares, then a vertical line across 11 squares. At the top, follow 2 squares, and on the left side, follow 6 squares. Tap the X button to clear the guide, and redraw the guide following the vertical line. It's a bit hard to see, so I'll increase the transparency. Now we have our guide for the wall. Since the wall doesn't use a grid, I'll roughly draw it along the outer edges. And now the wall is complete. Next, let's draw the window. Draw a guide for the window, then sketch the window at about this height. Next, I'll create a guide along the floor line to sketch the placement of the furniture. The sofa bed, wall shelf, floor lamp, bookshelf, stool, armchair, and hanger. Since these are just rough layout sketches, I'll lower the opacity to make them lighter. Press and hold the sketch group and adjust the opacity with the slider. That completes the rough sketch. Now, shall we start the actual drawing? First, let's draw the floor. Add a new floor group. Tap the brush icon again. Then draw a line and hold to create a straight line. Increase the opacity to 100%. Switch to the paintbrush. And choose the floor color you want. I'm selecting the second shade material, which I use most often. Then tap the dice icon on the right, and make sure to turn on render mode so the lighting effects are applied. Next, set the brush size to around 150. Now fill in the floor area following the sketch lines. Next, let's draw the walls. Create a wall group. Create a guide for the wall. Change the brush color to white. Set the brush size to around 280 and draw the wall. In the Environment tab, tap Lighting and use this button to set the light direction based on your current camera view. Turn on ground shadow, you'll see the shadows appear on the floor. The shadows look a bit too long, so I'll adjust the lighting to something I prefer. Next, switch to a light purple color and paint the rest of the walls. To draw the white front-facing wall, use the injector tool here and pick the white color. Draw a guide for the window frame. Switch to the flat brush and set the size to 250. Draw according to the window height, and then paint the wall with the window frame. Change the brush size to around 100 and fill in the wall area. Position it to match the wall. And now the floor and walls are complete. Next, let's draw the window. Add a window group. Since I need this wall color, I'll activate the wall group, then use the eyedropper in the color panel to pick the brush color. Switch to the square brush, and then activate the window group again. Now I'll create a guide for the window. Set the brush size to around 230. It's easier to draw this part from the back view. Following the sketch, draw the window. And erase any extra lines. Go to the Lighting tab and turn on Toon Shading. For this piece, I like how it looks with Toon Shading turned on. Now let's finish drawing the window frame. And with that, the window is complete. Create a new group called Floor 2. Now let's add some floor texture. Draw a guide slightly above the floor. To avoid confusion, I'll turn off the sketch group for now. Switch to the flat brush and change the color. If you draw normally, it comes out like this, but tapping this button will turn on pressure sensitivity. Undo that, change the brush size to 300, and use gentle pressure control to create a wood grain texture. Continue drawing along the side as well. Turn the sketch group back on, and now let's draw the bed in this area. Create a group called Bed. Draw a guide according to the height of the bed. Increase the guide's transparency slightly. Change the brush color to white and set the size to 200. Turn off the pressure sensitivity button. Start by drawing the top surface of the sofa bed's armrest. Then draw the front surface. And for the side surface, switch to the paintbrush with a size of 120. Press the copy button to create the armrest on the opposite side. Now you'll have one armrest completed like this. Select it again, duplicate it, and place it on the other side to complete both armrests. Next, create a guide for drawing the mattress. Select the ribbon brush, the one at the very bottom. Change it to the largest size, 300. Draw the height of the mattress. The ribbon brush is useful because it lets you draw height easily. Switch back to the paintbrush at size 100 and draw the top surface of the mattress. Select it and move it upward. Duplicate the mattress to create the lower bed portion of the sofa bed. Adjust the size and move it downward. Now, with the wall group turned off, I'll draw the pillows. Since the background is white and hard to see, I'll temporarily change the background color as well. Create a guide for the pillows. Switch to the diamond brush and change the color to blue. Increase the brush size as well. Tap the draw button again and draw the pillow. Select the guide, move it upward, and switch to the flat brush. Select the pillow and use the stamp tool in the squeeze menu to duplicate and reposition it. You can find the squeeze menu by going to the System menu, then Controls, and selecting Apple Pencil. If you're using the Apple Pencil Pro, you can use the squeeze gesture. If not, just assign the squeeze menu to double tap and use it that way. Now, let's finish drawing the blanket on the bed. Switch to the paintbrush. Draw the guide and paint it from the top view. Repeat the process. To adjust the size, select the blanket and modify the brush size. Next, I'll select only the blue area. Under the Color panel, you'll find the Pattern button. Choose a pattern you like. You can adjust the pattern's color and scale. Finally, I'll change the background back to white and turn the wall group back on. Now let's draw the armchair. Create an armchair group. First, I'll draw half of the chair leg. Start by drawing the part that touches the floor. Then add the side pillar. And draw the top surface. Select the chair leg, align it to the center crosshair on the screen, and use mirror copy. Mirror copying is super useful when creating symmetrical shapes. Next, let's draw the base of the chair. Switch to the paintbrush and set the size to 80. Move the guide slightly upward and draw the seating area. Change to the square brush, select a green color, and set the size to 300. Draw the green and white sections. Then use the stamp tool to duplicate them. Copy the seat shape and use it to create the backrest. Select everything and move it to the position you want. And with that, the armchair is complete. Next, create a stool group. Tap the pen icon again to switch to drawing mode. Draw a guide for the height of the stool, and if you hold after drawing a curve, you can create a perfect circle like this. Draw the circle and fill it in. Now let's draw the stool legs. Switch to the diamond brush and change the color to red. It looks a bit too thick, so I'll reduce the size. Align it to the center of the seat and duplicate the legs to make 4 of them. Select the entire stool, copy it, move it upward, and rotate it to stack the pieces. And with that, the stool is complete. Next, let's draw the metal shelf. Draw a guide for the shelf height. Then change the brush to a gray color with a size of 65. Draw the top surface of the shelf. Then switch the brush size to 25 and quickly draw the rest. Copy the entire shelf and create the lower shelf as well. Now let's draw the pillars. To avoid confusion, I'll turn off the grid in the Environment tab. Set the brush size back to 65 and draw the pillars. Copy the pillar and move it to the back. Now let's draw the books on the shelf. Create a group called Books. Draw a guide on the shelf. Then switch to the flat brush, choose a red color, and set the size to 300. Draw the book cover. Switch to the square brush with a size of 130 and draw the thickness of the book. Select the white curve and move it slightly downward. Duplicate the book cover and move it below. Use the flat brush with a size of 60 to draw the side of the book. Adjust its position, select the book, and use the stamp tool to stack multiple books. Then select only the book cover and change the color. Repeat the process, duplicate the book, move it, and change it to any color you like. Place some books on the window frame as well. And copy more books onto the lower shelf. Next, let's draw the floor lamp. Change the brush color and set the size to around 180. Draw a guide along the floor and draw the lamp base. Switch the brush and draw the pole as well. Change to the ribbon brush and draw the back part of the lampshade. At the bottom, open the Primitives tab and select the sphere. We'll use this to create the light bulb. Resize it to the size you want. Move it into place, and tap Done at the bottom. Switch to the flat brush, pick a light color, set the size to 20 and the opacity to 20%. Then rotate around and paint the bulb. Next, switch to the diamond brush with a size of 15 and draw the power cord. Select the floor lamp group and move the lamp inside the room. Now let's add the light inside the bulb. Choose the glow material, the third one here. To actually make it emit light, there's one more step. Go to the Environment tab and tap the bulb icon. Use the slider to adjust the light intensity. Next, let's draw the hanger. Draw a guide according to the height of the rack. Switch the brush to a shade material, set the color to gray, and the size to 80. Then change the brush size to 20 and draw the rest of the metal frame. Select everything and move it downward. Draw the main pillar. Duplicate it and place another pillar in the back. Add one more pillar in the center. Now let's hang some clothes on this rack. Set the brush size to 15. Draw a hanger, then duplicate and move it. And with that, the hanger is complete. Now let's draw the wall shelf. Draw a guide at the shelf height. Switch to the flat brush and choose any color you like. Draw the top surface of the shelf. Then switch to the square brush with a size of 150 and draw the thickness of the shelf. Move it slightly downward and change it to the color you want. Duplicate it and make it into a 3-tier shelf. Next, create a group called Stuff and place some small items on the shelves. I'll quickly draw a cup and a bowl. Then I'll draw some clothes hanging on the rack. Duplicate it to make one more piece. I'll also add a pattern to the wallpaper. We're really close to the finish line now. Just a little more to go. For the final step, let's draw the lines. Draw a guide slightly above the floor. Switch to the diamond brush, set it to the default material, and change the size to 20. Draw a guide along the floor line, then draw the line itself. Add a bit of wood grain detail as well. Next, let's draw the bed lines. Create a guide on the surface where you want the line, and then draw the line. I'll repeat the same process for the rest. To give it more of a sketch-like feel, I'll also add the grid measurements to show how many squares each part spans. Since the background color affects the shadows, I'll change the background and insert the background image I saved earlier. And we're finally done! I hope this tutorial helps you explore even more things you can create in Feather. I'll be back with another tutorial on a new topic next time. Thanks for watching.